Hat on, hat off, on, off. I don't know. What's up, everyone? I'm Daniel. I go by they, them, or he, him pronouns. I am a queer, trans, tender-hearted human being navigating this world through a genderqueer or non-binary lens. Fuck this hat. Today's a big one. We're gonna be talking about dysphoria. Gender dysphoria specifically. It's a big topic, so buckle up. Because it's such a big topic and there's kind of a lot to cover, this is going to be part one. Just something to note before we do actually get started. Not all trans people, not all non-binary people, not all people experience gender dysphoria. So you do not need to experience gender dysphoria in order to be a trans person. All trans experiences are going to be different, and all trans experiences are valid. Don't let the fitted shirt fool you, and don't have pants on right now. Okay, now, diving right in. What is dysphoria? So, according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, a state of feeling very unhappy, uneasy, or distressed. Gender dysphoria means a distressed state arising from conflict between a person's gender identity and the sex the person has or was identified as having at birth. Cool. So now that we have the dictionary definitions of what those two things mean, you have maybe a little bit more of an idea. But you really can't reduce this emotion that is so all-encompassing down to this sterilized definition, because it's going to be different case by case. So each person experiences dysphoria in a different way. Because dysphoria is so dependent on the individual person, I reached out for some help to just give everyone a little bit more insight into different ways it can affect different people. And here's some of the responses that I got. I check my binder constantly and live in fear that everyone is looking at my chest. Being short and having little features like my hands and my feet. Also, bottom dysphoria for sure. When I feel uncomfortable in public spaces, I'll intentionally make myself smaller and quieter. And then someone else said, triggers, chest, voice, hips, thighs, getting called ma'am or miss, or getting called my birth name. So for me, my dysphoria presents in a mostly social manner, where I'm constantly hyper aware of how I'm being perceived. So the way I'm sitting, the way I move my hands, the way I spoke, or how I'm being perceived in any interaction. So that can be really exhausting, and it causes a lot of really deep isolation. So dysphoria can affect multiple parts of a person's life, and everybody has different experiences with it. Some ways that dysphoria can manifest in the body, in the mind, in the heart: severe feelings of isolation, low self-esteem, hyper-awareness of the body's presentation, hyper-awareness of social surroundings, depression, anxiety, sometimes substance-related abuse, sometimes even suicidal thoughts and attempts. So navigating dysphoria is a very difficult thing. The effects of dysphoria are not limited to that list. Those are just a few examples of some of the ways dysphoria could potentially affect a person's life. So that's not to say that everyone that experiences dysphoria experiences any or all of those things. Just again, some examples for a little bit more insight. Okay, are you with me so far? Are you? Seriously. If you're not, pause, go get some coffee if you need to, and then meet me back here because we're just getting to the good stuff. Cheers. Welcome back. Okay, brief recap. Dysphoria cannot be reduced down to some sterile definition because humans are much more complex. So, number one. And number two, dysphoria can present in so many different ways and will present in so many different ways depending on the person. It can present on an emotional level, a physical level, or a social level. So yeah, dysphoria, like I said, can just present in many, many different ways. We've arrived at the section of how do you support a loved one that is experiencing dysphoria. Get ready, this shit is important. So again, I reached out for some help from some other voices in the community. So here are some ways that others have been supported in dysphoric periods in their life. Some reassurance that you can't tell that I'm wearing a binder and that my chest looks flat. Remind me I am who I am, and there are plenty of cis men who have small features as well. Call me in and ask how I'm feeling. And if I'm visibly upset, can we leave the space immediately, please? Calling me my chosen name, using my chosen pronouns, and reminding me and validating me in my masculinity. So the biggest things here in supporting a loved one when they're experiencing dysphoria: listen without the intention to fix, just listen. And the next biggest thing that you can do is ask how you can support that person, ask how you can help that person in that moment. Communication is a huge part of how you can properly support someone in any regard, but specifically when it comes to gender dysphoria. Just asking how you can help, asking how you can support, and again, just listening. That's one of the biggest parts of communication. The ability to listen without trying to fix anything. Sometimes all a person needs is to just be heard and just know that they have somebody on their side. So aside from those two things, the listening without the intent of playing fix it, and asking how you can best help and support a person in that moment, some of the other best tips I think that I can give you: remind them that they are valid in whatever feelings they're experiencing, they're valid in whatever emotion they're going through, they are valid in all of it. Reassure them that they are supported, that they are loved, and again, that they are valid in their identity and in their existence. Please don't patronize or coddle a person or kind of tiptoe and walk on eggshells around them. That can make someone feel really small. And something to note is trans people are some of the strongest, most courageous people in this world. It takes incredible strength to be trans in a world that is openly transphobic and openly hateful towards trans people. And then just check in a day or two later, just check in and ask how they're feeling. And just, again, remind them that they are supported. So when you create this kind of safe space and safe environment for people to turn to be able to express whenever they are experiencing something like that, just knowing that they have that support and just knowing that there is somewhere for them to turn is incredibly helpful. And the same thing goes for gender nonconforming and non-binary people that are not on hormones, that don't take any steps towards medical transition. But imagine people constantly invalidating your existence because you're not medically transitioning, which is not necessary. You don't need any type of medical transition or any type of medical intervention in order to be trans or be non-binary, but people will make you feel like that. And so when we have a society that's constantly just shitting on us and constantly invalidating us, if our support system is also invalidating us, it's really difficult to go through and to face these periods of dysphoria. One of the best things that you can do, aside from supporting a person when they are going through that, be proactive. So some ways that you can be proactive are sharing your pronouns in cis spaces and in cis dominant spaces. It's really easy to just kind of weave into your everyday life. You just introduce yourself, say, hi, my name is so-and-so, and I use these pronouns. So, hi, my name is Daniel, I use they, them, or he, him pronouns. Easy. This society as a whole is largely transphobic, and it can be a scary place, especially for the POC trans community and the Black trans community in specific. And so, like I said, it takes a lot of courage and a lot of strength to be a trans person in this world. There can be many social triggers for dysphoria. So I've made a video on my Instagram about shit you should never ask a trans person. And if we are asked these questions in social and public situations, it can be very triggering. And so another way that you can be proactive in supporting your trans loved one or your non-binary or gender non-conforming loved one, you can ask them how they would like you to handle it if someone misgenders you in public. And that way, if it does happen and you're around, you know what to do. You know what that person is the most comfortable with and what they're not comfortable with. Sometimes people will want you to step in, sometimes they don't want you to step in. So it's case by case, and the biggest thing that you can do is open that line of communication and ask questions, because even though the questions might feel or seem uncomfortable, I guarantee it's more comfortable than when that awkward situation does arise and you don't know what to do. And remember, we're all human beings, so we all make mistakes, we all do things wrong sometimes. The important thing here is to not center your mistakes, because then you're centering your experience as opposed to the person that is experiencing the dysphoria or the discomfort, and that can be really harmful. And that's a wrap on part 1, my friends. Yeah. I just want to thank all of you who shared some of the triggers for your dysphoria, and also some ways that you've been supported, as it adds more voices to the information as opposed to just from one person's perspective. If you're here to learn and just understand a little bit more about the trans community and the trans experience, thank you for being here. If you're here to learn how to support your loved one through transitioning, thank you for being here. And if you're a trans person just looking for more information or resources, thank you for being here. I really, truly appreciate each and every one of you. And if you have any insight into your journey or your experience with dysphoria, please let me know. I'd love to hear from you. So drop a comment down below. I'd really like to open the dialogue about it. Stay tuned for part 2 of this video, talking about gender dysphoria, and part 2 is going to talk a little bit more about, as a trans person, how you can cope with dysphoria. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel down below. If you're learning anything or if you enjoy the content, please subscribe. Through that subscription, it'll just allow me to continue creating content like this that I truly enjoy creating. Also, check out my Patreon. So if you're interested in more in-depth information or some of the resources that I use for my own information, check out my Patreon. You'll be able to find all of that there. And if you have any other questions or comments, anything like that, my Instagram will be linked down below. My email will be linked down below. So yeah, let me know, reach out to me, and I hope to see you in the next video. Peace.